We will have one final question. Senator Kensington brought up the topic, and you seem eager to talk about it as well, Senator Aberfoyle. So let's talk about the Muggle Cooperation Act. You are its chief sponsor of the act, but was it a mistake?
I'm glad you asked. First, let me say that because we feared that open acknowledgement of our existence would have caused a lot of harm in both the Muggle and Wizarding communities, the aims of the Act were quite limited. If you'll recall, we had, and still have actually, a number of disappearances and murders that we have been unable to solve. We believed that we could benefit from Muggle investigative help. We also thought that increased information sharing with trusted partners could help reduce the difficulties we have living amongst Muggles. As you know, Muggles outnumber us by a factor of more than 20 to 1, and the power we wizards and witches have at our command results in a lot of, well, incidents. Traditionally, communication between wizard and Muggle governments around the world has only been between heads of government. We expanded that circle to include a limited number of Muggle government officials and law enforcement officers. What we did not foresee, indeed could not have possibly foreseen, was that Simon Drake, whom we believed to be a Muggle, had positioned himself to use those provisions to infiltrate our institutions. Because of that, and because of the power he holds in the Muggle government, we have no idea whom we can trust. Until we can find partners in the Muggle government that we know have not been compromised, we have been forced to put our outreach on hold. Nonetheless, I stand by the necessity of the Act and its goals. I firmly believe that we will once again reach the point where we can work with trusted partners in the Muggle world for our mutual benefit.
At last, we finally get to Polonius Aberfoyle's magnum opus, the Muggle Cooperation Act, the out-of-control golem leveling the walls of our community. Let's take this whole collapsing house of cards one by one, beginning with Muggle Investigation of the Wizarding World. Well, it's a proud tradition to keep in mind, isn't it? The Spanish Inquisition certainly set a high bar for what to expect from it all, but there were certainly other triumphs of Muggle investigations in the long, bloody centuries to come. How about the proud name of Matthew Hopkins, Witchfinder General, whose delight in torturing helpless women to death has only last October found anyone to rival it? The Witchcraft Act of 1542 was Parliament's enduring legacy of love and toleration to those few of us, and lots of their own, that decorated their majesties' gallows after what I'm sure seemed to be a fair trial. And what about Salem? Have any of you ever watched a production of The Crucible? In the name of Giles Corey, Polonius, what were you thinking? As for Muggle investigatory techniques, let's look at their more recent triumphs. The remains of Evangeline Crafter, found by Dowling and Bloodthorn, not some Muggle team of experts. And what about the DNA evidence absolutely proving that Craven Bloodthorn was not involved in the destruction of Timernac? Conclusive? Conclusively wrong! Both Persephone and Simon Drake gleefully confirmed that in spite of the science the Muggles threw into the mess, Craven Bloodthorn was involved. If that's what you bought at the price of Simon Drake's involvement, Polonius, you were badly cheated, and the price is likely to be made up in blood. The Secretary of Magic has always had the discretion to talk to the one Muggle who's pledged to protect every American citizen, Wizarding or Muggle. A single point of contact and control, our leader, their leader, with very few contacts between designated operatives over the centuries. If they needed us, we were there. If we needed them, we could ask for help. Polonius was accidentally, perhaps, right about one thing. We are outnumbered. Obscurity is and has always been our best and most proven defense. Now look at us. We went from safe, symbiotic companionship to the Speaker of the House launching a campaign in both communities designed to spread chaos and havoc. And instead of doing the right thing, the thing required of a man with any sense of honor or responsibility for this disastrous debacle, the very man who opened the door to the wolf now ravening at your throats wants you to give him more power and more chances to bring disaster down upon us all. Polonius, do the right thing. Resign from the Senate. Resign from Avestron. If the orders will take you, at least you can tell them what you learned in your long association with Simon Drake and do some tiny bit of good good in the aftermath of the terrible harm you have already done.
I can bring myself to respect your passion, Oswald. While I vehemently disagree with much of where it leads you, it is a quality I can value, particularly in this crisis. That said, it is not your place to demand my resignation from any of the offices with which I have been entrusted. My position at Avestrom is a matter between me and the headmistress. My office as senator is between myself and my constituents, and I will not resign from either one despite your insistence for me to do otherwise. No one is trying to argue the merits of the International Statute of Secrecy here. It is disingenuous on your part to conflate the MCA with somehow overturning that law. We all know that the various witchcraft-related panics that have been sparked among the Muggles over the centuries have done far more harm to themselves than they have to us. In fact, I'm not aware of a single real witch or wizard that's ever actually been captured in one of these Muggle purges, but we are concerned with Muggle welfare. We don't like to see them harmed, especially in the name of catching some of us. That's why, as I said, the aims of the MCA are limited. We are not revealing our existence to the Muggle world at large. You have no idea what other fruits our cooperation with Muggle law enforcement may or may not have borne as of yet, Kensington. But to the extent that we have not seen results to this point, I would suspect that has a fair amount to do with interference from Drake. Once we can establish relationships with partners in the Muggle world whom we can trust, I am confident we will see results. And while my opponent may not be anti-Muggle, he certainly displays a certain paternalism that is not in keeping with thinking of them as equal to wizards. Those of us who actually believe that Muggles are capable of not only managing their own affairs, but even teaching us wizards a few things, recognize the Muggle Cooperation Act for what it is. A tool for helping us collaborate with their leaders for mutual benefit without announcing our presence in a way that would trigger the ugly misunderstandings of the past. Oswald, you are granting Drake a victory with your anger towards me and Avestrom that I don't think in your heart you want to give him. He has tried to pit us all against each other. We need to join ranks once the choice of this election is made and form a common front from Avestrom to Salem against him. I know that you are willing to fight to the last breath, but it doesn't have to be alone. We can't spare you, Oswald. Put the past behind you and your face toward the foe. I will be proud to stand at your side as commander or commanded, as your comrade in arms. This is bigger than all of us.
At this point, I would like to give each of you an opportunity to make a closing statement. Senator Kensington.
My fellow Americans, at a time like this, the natural instinct is to withdraw and devote oneself to one's own affairs and to the protection of those most dear. I have not done that. I will not do that. I have not retreated from the unpleasantness and squalor of this battlefield tonight, and I will not retreat during the struggle for existence we shall all face together in the battle against Simon Drake. It is so very easy to say something that sounds noble. It takes but a moment's expenditure of breath, a choreographed pose, a rehearsed expression. What I have tried to do tonight, and in my entire career, is to live up to the basic credo in which my father raised me, his father raised him, and that has shown itself in the conduct and actions of my family since time immemorial. My name is Oswald P. Kensington. I am a senator in your wizarding government. My family motto is, "A Kensington keeps the faith." So help me, until I am struck down, so long as I can raise my wand and in the end just my voice, I will fight alongside anyone with the courage and resolution to put his shoulder next to mine and face this terrible enemy. I will try to live up to my family's traditions and to the trust you have placed in me. Thank you for your kind attention.
My opponent and I have agreed tonight that Simon Drake represents an existential threat to the American wizarding public. If he takes power, we will soon lose any semblance of what makes us a nation of free witches and wizards. His plans include the subjugation of Muggles as slaves to wizards. The choice you face in this election, ladies and gentlemen, is whether we face that threat in a way that maintains the rights and liberties that make our society great, or whether we face it in a way that risks our way of life in the name of survival. Whether we reach out to the Muggles to face this threat together, or if we attempt to fight on our own and possibly lose not only for ourselves but for Muggles as well. I believe in preserving our way of life, including our precious civil liberties, and I am still advocating partnership with the Muggles in facing this threat. I'm Polonius Aberfoyle, and thank you for your time this evening.
And that concludes our debate. I want to thank both of you senators for your time this evening, and I suppose the entertainment as well. And those of you in attendance and those of you watching at home, this is Magistrate of Elections, Mr. Zahn at the 501st Wizarding Debate. Good night.